Welcome to Limited Time Only.
The podcast for anyone who feels there aren't enough hours in their life.
Limited Time Only is a mix of chat, comedy sketches and interviews with interesting people.
We hope that we will make you smile, laugh and feel a bit brighter about the whole life, death and everything in between malarkey.
Essentially, we're dissecting the human condition, just using a rubber chicken rather than a scalpel.
I'm Esther.
And I'm Susie.
And this is Limited Time Only.
This week it's time for Nostalgia, the 90s edition, aka the olden days. Everybody get up, sing it. 1, 2, 3, 4.
I have been feeling very nostalgic very frequently in the last few years. And I don't know why, particularly, whether it's a combination of my age, that I'm at an age... I'm an age which I didn't imagine I would ever be. You know, when you're 15, you don't really think you're going to be 40.
Yeah.
You think you're going to be 20, but probably 20 for about 50 years.
And I think when you're 30, you don't think you're going to be 40.
No.
I've heard people podcasting and talking about being sort of 34, 35 and talking about 40 like it's the end of the road and it's a way away. And I'm like, girl, you're going to blink and you're going to be 40.
Yeah.
So
and then you're going to feel really nostalgic.
Yeah.
and I don't know. So partly that, and I think partly the pandemic, because I think I mean, obviously things are getting so much better. I mean, it does feel largely like life is almost back to normal. You know, I just wear a mask quite a lot of places, and I've not got a problem with that. I think hopefully I'll get fewer colds throughout the year. But when we were really stuck and we had nothing of our previous life seemed to be there anymore, I think that's when it started. But I think age has a lot to do with it.
Do you know, my kids, particularly my daughter, is almost nostalgic. She wishes she'd lived through the 80s and the 90s, and we watch things like The Vicar of Dibley, and they'll say they really like it and it's cozy, and and occasionally Only Fools and Horses, and she will often say, and my son will say actually when they watch Stranger Things, I wish I'd lived in the 80s. It looked really cool. No one had a phone. You just went out on your bike all day. And I think there's that sort of simplicity that even though my son doesn't use his phone that much, but they sort of crave that freedom that probably we were the last generation to have, really.
Yes, our generation, we were quite young when mobile phones started coming in.
Yeah.
And we were late teens when people started to have mobile phones as a matter of course. That's when they started coming in. So we were the kind of last generation of young people to have gone through our youth without a mobile phone.
Yeah.
Because we didn't. I don't think I didn't know anybody who had a mobile phone when we were 18.
I got one when I was 18, but I never used it. I remember my dad buying me one, and I put my phone number up in the common room because there was no need for me to ever use it. It was just so I could phone my dad because I had a car. I never used it, and I remember years later living with a house sharing with this girl, and her saying, "Well, you could just text them." And I said, "What the hell's texting?" Yeah. And I was sort of, I must have been 20, 21, and I didn't realise that you could send a text. I didn't really know what a text was.
Yeah.
So, and I've heard the cast of Friends talk, and they will say you couldn't remake it now because we couldn't make it now because we'd all just be sat on our phones.
Yes. Yeah.
I read an article, a really good article, about this guy who called Jack Walters, who is so obsessed with the 90s that he lives his life like it's the 90s. He has a tape player. His whole home is set up. He's 23 and he lives like it's that time.
Wow. What does he listen to old programmes?
I don't know. He buys from the charity shops. He wears high-waisted Levi jeans and sweater shop jumpers.
I mean, they're in. That's in.
Exactly. He's fashionable. He's got a VHS player, telephone alarm clocks, and he says his love of the 90s comes from his aim of recreating the coziness of his mum and dad's house when he was a kid.
Oh, that's
and
so
he watches
sweet.
Absolutely Fabulous, Men Behaving Badly, The Vicar of Dibley, and he listens to Now That's What I Call Music. There you go. That's what he listens to on cassette tapes.
Oh, it's so sweet.
And he's got an old laptop which uses Windows 95.
Oh, gosh, it'll take you forever to load up. Oh, well, yeah, I think there must have been better communication, like face-to-face communication in those days. I think university now must be a very, very different experience.
I know a few people that have gone over the last few years and it's been very different because a lot of it's been online because of the pandemic.
Well, yeah. That would have stopped it. What would have happened if this had happened in the 90s?
Oh yeah, we wouldn't have gone, would we? That would have been it.
No, you've just been at home watching reruns of Only Fools and Horses.
Yeah. Well, if we could watch reruns of Only Fools and Horses, we'd have to watch the VHS
true.
because that was it, wasn't it? It was 5 channels.
Yes, and listen to your tape recordings of the charts from the weekend before.
Making your own mixtapes. When we look back at the 90s, what makes you feel nostalgic?
The nostalgia I feel is quite painful. I mean, nostalgia it's a feeling of pleasure and also slight pain. I think it's the most bizarre feeling, isn't it? That it's happiness and sadness at the same time, and it's a yearning.
It's like
for
grief.
something that can never. Yes, it is like grief. It is. You can't ever go back.
Yeah.
But when I shut my eyes, I am there. I can be there. But it's almost like I'm standing there as myself now, kind of watching things happening in my head that happened. I'm very, very nostalgic about my university years and the music around that time. I think music plays a very big role in nostalgia because you can hear something, a snippet of something, and you are transported back to that place, and you can feel all the things that you felt mixed in with that feeling of nostalgia, which it's a pain in my chest. It's a pain. I can't bear it in a way.
Yeah, it's grief.
But at the same time, I'd kind of just like to lock myself in a room and listen to Oasis back to back. Actually, my next door neighbour is a couple of years older than me, probably about 6 years older than me or so. He absolutely loves 90s music. And in the summer, I can't wait actually till it gets warmer again because he'll have his radio out the back and it's all songs from university time, basically. Oasis, Embrace, Blur, The Charlatans. Envelop me with those sounds, please. Absolutely love it. And the Beatles, actually, because the Beatles had a revival when we were in our late teens, early 20s, because they re-released all the Beatles sort of back catalogue in high definition or something, and so a whole new generation discovered the Beatles anew, and we listened to it like it was, had just been released. So the Beatles makes me nostalgic for the 90s.
Yeah, but in the 90s there was a real kickback that I remember in the 90s thinking I wish I'd been around in the 60s.
Yes, well, it's like your daughter now, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then we were talking about this the other day and we were saying, can't imagine in 30 years that everyone will wish they'd been around in the 20s.
Or wish I'd been around when it was that pandemic. No.
It's so interesting, isn't it? Because it obviously had such a deep effect on you, the 90s. Now, I loved the 90s. But I don't feel that I don't have that pining for it. It was a lovely time of my life, but I don't have grief around it. I just think, wasn't that a right laugh?
That's really good.
And somebody said to me years ago, what was your decade? And I don't know.
Really?
I don't know what my decade, because I suppose I probably should say 90s, but the noughties, I know we've discussed this before, and you were saying the noughties and the teenies don't really mean anything to you, and they don't to me. They don't. I think you were saying they don't have a personality yet, and they don't to me.
I can't kind of place myself within the noughties, partly because the noughties in my brain don't really exist. I don't know why.
Yeah.
But I always get confused, and I sort of jump back. If I'm talking about the noughties, I end up saying 90 or something when it should be 2003.
Right.
It's like I've skipped a decade.
Yeah. I can't grasp that they're that long ago.
Yeah.
I can't grasp that 2002 was 20 years ago. I cannot grasp that.
No.
In my head, the 90s are 10 years ago. So when you say we're in 2022, 30 years ago was 1992, but at that time I wanted to live in the 60s, which was the same length of time before. I don't compute. My head's just gone.
Yeah, I don't think I did have that hankering for, living in the 60s. And I remember going to 70s nights.
Oh yeah, I remember going to those, yeah.
Oh yeah, and it was a big thing. I don't know if they still are. Probably not. It's 90s nights now.
Yeah.
But I found them quite boring. I loved it for about the first hour and a half. And then I'd be like, oh, it's all quite the same. And that's probably what people from the 10s, what are they called?
I don't know, I say
What do you call them?
teenies, but I don't know what they are.
Think about the 90s music.
Yeah.
They probably think, oh, it's all the same.
We interrupt this programme with a YouBash. Studies have shown that people who grew up in the 1990s struggle to resist alcopops, cannot say the word freedom without adopting a thick Scottish accent, and suffer PTSD on hearing the song Love Is All Around. They are, however, very good at playing the guitar, as long as they're playing Wonderwall. They look super smashing great in a pair of combat trousers, and are brilliant at dealing with crises, as they treat any minor setback like an episode of the Crystal Maze. How many time crystals have you won today? Goodbye.
What are some real moments for you from the 90s?
To be honest, I think it's because I was like, why? What is my strong desire to go back about, and what is that feeling of sadness and mixed with pleasure about? And I realised, I was thinking, well, it's about a whole load of stuff, and I think it's about things that I've now lost that I haven't got anymore. So
Collagen, pelvic floor.
Yeah, energy. In fact, I did write down energy, a purpose. I mean, I do have a purpose in life, obviously, but I think I had a real drive at that point.
Yeah.
Because everything was so new and fresh and very exciting. Freedom. And I've got freedom, of course, and we're very lucky in this country to have freedom, but I also am tied by the fact that I have 2 children to look after. I can't just bugger off around the world for a year, although people do. Maybe I should.
Yeah.
Think on.
Susie left the podcast and went around the world.
Yeah, and I think friends and community, and I think that's probably, when I think back to us being in drama group, even school, I have a real strong desire to go back to school and university, because you are always with a gang of friends every day, people who you have a laugh with and who you share everything with. I mean, I have a husband. It's not quite the same, though, is it? Having a gang.
No, one person can't fulfil all of those things, can they?
He does try.
Yes,
but,
and he's a very funny man.
He is a very funny man. But I think it's that sense of community where everywhere you walk, you're going to see someone you know, and you're learning new things every day as well at that time. At school, I mean, it might have been deathly dull. I'm sure some of I certainly didn't enjoy all my lessons or lectures, and then you have to write essays, and oh god. But you're learning something, and your brain's getting fired up. So I don't think it's anything specific. Like, it's not a specific moment in time. It is just a sense of that feeling, of that atmosphere and environment that I was in at that time. It's that.
And that probably those feelings of grief are sort of compounded by the fact that you are quite restricted. Now, my kids are older, so I don't have that I don't have that sort of feeling of I haven't got as much freedom. My kids are coming up to the point where, we've probably only got a couple of years left before Ella goes off on her travels and does whatever she wants to do, and so my world has opened back up again, whereas your children are very small, and so there is only so much you can do. So then there is that hankering back, and also having turned 40 and being in the 40s, I think that throws up a lot of stuff as well. But I don't have that same level of grief. I can just I just imagine that it's probably from being restricted in what you can do.
Yeah, I don't know. Do you? I sometimes think that it's all still happening in another dimension.
Oh yeah.
Which is quite weird, isn't it? It's like, well, no, because I'm not there at the same time as I'm here.
Yeah.
Or maybe I am.
Yeah. Well, my friend Hayley's got a lot of stuff to talk about on time. She's been doing a lot of listening to podcasts and stuff about time and how it. I can't remember any of the details that she told me, but it's interesting, and that's as much as I can tell you.
Well, I'd love to hear about that another time.
Yes,
but
maybe I'm telling you
really
somewhere on the timeline.
Maybe I know about it already.
Maybe you do.
But it is that weird. Yes, I do genuinely feel like every decade in history is still happening.
Yeah.
I think it's because in my heart of hearts, I would love time travel to be real.
Yeah.
And there to be some kind of machine. I would basically like to be Michael J. Fox in Back to the Future. That's my ideal.
Yes.
And just so if you go back and it's still happening. I love thinking about that, actually.
Yeah.
The Industrial Revolution's still happening. And, there's cavemen in another bit.
Yeah.
It's kind of overwhelming if you think about it too hard.
It's sort of a thought that you can go and get lost on, isn't it, for hours, and almost make yourself feel a bit weird about it the more you think about it.
Yeah. But that's interesting that you don't have that nostalgic feeling. So if you hear a song and it takes you back to a time and place.
Oh yeah, totally. But I don't.
You don't feel sad.
I do look back and I think, God, that was brilliant. And sometimes I hear a song and I am definitely right back there. I remember, did you ever watch the television series Ashes to Ashes with Keeley Hawes and John Sim?
Yeah.
Which was
The
a
80s
follow-on
one.
from Life on Mars. So that was in the 80s,
Yeah.
but it was the early 80s. Now, I was very little in the early 80s, but I would watch that show and I would say to my husband, I don't know what's going on. I cannot give you words. But there is so much in the set design and the music and the feel of this that is taking me to a time when I
Yes.
probably couldn't speak. I have such a strong
Wow.
feeling, and I can't tell you what it is, but it's memories that I can't articulate, and it had such a powerful effect on me. And yeah, definitely hearing songs, it takes me right back to memories and moments. But I suppose this is probably the point in my life where I feel like I've got the most freedom and agency over my life. And I don't think I particularly felt that in my teens. So I feel like, I feel sort of, it was a brilliant time. And oh my God, I had some fun. And also, I got together with my husband in 1996. We were 18 and all of my friends are still the same friends. So I don't have that pining for it, because I suppose I feel like it's still very much there. It's such a big part of my life still. But I mean, talking about this topic, I did have sort of 3 or 4 memories that came to me that were really brilliant. I remember on my 18th birthday, 2nd of May, people, 2nd of May, I got to vote on my 18th birthday.
Wow.
So my dad woke me up and got a bottle of champagne, which I had before I went to school. I was in sixth form. Before I went to school, so my dad gave me a champagne breakfast and then said, I can't drink any of this because I've got to drive you. So I literally drank a bottle of
Oh my goodness.
literally drank a bottle of champagne and then went to vote and then went to school. And I remember my form teacher, Mrs. Thornywork, walking into the classroom. I was in the science block and I was absolutely tipsy as anything. Probably hammered. Hammered at 18 off a bottle of champagne, and she was telling everyone off for coming in late into class, and I stumbled in late and stood at the back of class. Everyone in the classroom just started sniggering, and all of the teachers knew all day that I was hammered, and not one of them said anything. I remember sitting in Mr. Ralph's English class doing my English A level, and just him laughing and just turning a blind eye. It was actually really sweet of them to all turn a blind eye because they knew it was my 18th birthday.
That would never happen now, would it? You'd be sent home.
No, not at all. Oh my God, social services would be killed him. But it was really sweet of them, and it was such a brilliant day. So that sort of stands out for me. And another thing is me and my friend Mel, when we were in sixth form, deciding, because you had to be in school all day because we didn't go to college, we stayed at sixth form, but we decided at lunchtime we were allowed out at lunchtime, we were gonna walk to the nearest town to go to Our Price to buy The Bomb by Bucketheads. These sounds fall into my mind, and Push the Feeling On. Do you remember that by Nightcrawlers? Push it, let's push. And so that was those songs, because I remember we went to Cream a couple of times, and I would just get into it. And I love music, and I remember it being very upbeat. And I'd just drink water and dance all night. And the number of people that would come over and ask me if they could have what I was on, I was just like, water and life. And those sort of moments of freedom and fun, and that part of your life where you're about to, you've got that little bit more freedom. You can go out, you can do stuff. You don't want to be at home, you want to be with your mates all the time.
I mean, I think in my ideal world, actually, I would probably live on a commune with a bunch of mates, and my husband and family. Yeah. And I think that would be absolutely glorious.
Yeah.
A community, a real kind of, and that you all...
Yeah. Which definitely, particularly when you're a teen, your life is your friends, isn't it? And you're seeing people all the time, and you're out and about, and there's you're here, there, and everywhere, and there's just lots going on, and then as you settle down or get jobs or grow up a bit, that's not quite the case, because you're world becomes slightly smaller and you can't see everybody all the time.
That's just that time and that youth and that energy and that
Collagen and that pelvic floor.
Well, absolutely. It all boils down to the gloriousness of youth, really. The common theme of all this is that it was a time before technology kind of took over, isn't it?
Yes, I suppose so. Yeah, I suppose so. And also it's been an intense few years, hasn't it? And
So I've gone completely insane.
In West Philadelphia, born and raised.
Oh, Esther, I haven't got any ideas for this week's show. I feel completely uninspired. Esther, what are you stuffing into your mouth?
a bit of Lady Macbeth for inspiration.
You're eating the works of Shakespeare.
No, I'm eating a delicious bar of Lady Macbeth dark orange chocolate from Sweet Theatre. I've just finished off Alice in Wonderland. Even the artwork on the packaging is beautiful.
Is it helping?
Indeed it is. Here, have a little nibble on Oscar Wilde. That one's gin and tonic flavour.
Yum. Have you got any more?
Um.
Esther, have you eaten all the Sweet Theatre chocolate?
Should I exit stage left?
Yeah, I think you should.
Sweet Theatre. Chocolate with drama. Available online at sweettheatre.com and in participating theatres. If Esther hasn't eaten it all. So no one told your life was gonna be this way.
And now, on the LifeSap channel, we visit Barbara and Pamela as they decide if that collection of 90s memorabilia you haven't looked at for 15 years is a load of old gubbins or if it sparks joy. I'm Barbara Sparks.
And I'm Pamela Clagsworth.
Joy.
I'm Joy Clagsworth.
No, you're still Pamela.
I'm Pamela.
You're Pamela Joy, as in Sparks Joy. Oh, never mind. Together, we are Sparks Joy. Let's take a flutter on a declutter.
What are we rummaging through today, Barbara?
My box, Pamela. My 90s box from when we were young.
We were in our mid-40s in 1990, Barbara.
Exactly. Young. I could still lunge in 1990.
I suppose I was out every night at raves, mashed off my face.
So, here's the first item.
What on earth's that? A dead rodent?
It's a lock of Chesney Hawkes' hair.
Why?
He was in front of me. I had a pair of scissors. I thought, this is my one and only chance.
Bin it, Barbara.
No way, Pam. This can go on my John Bon Jovi doll. He's got a bit thin on top recently.
Next. A brick?
No, it's my first mobile phone.
Get rid. It's obsolete.
So are most MPs, Pamela, but it doesn't stop them trying.
What's this?
My collection of 90s necklaces, CND symbols, Celtic crosses, plastic dummies of various sizes. They were very in 1993.
Perhaps you could pop one in your mouth now, Barbara.
But then I wouldn't be able to speak, Pamela. The pièce de la résistance is 50 photo albums from 1992.
But the photos are all either out of focus, taken accidentally while the camera's pointing at the floor, or completely undeveloped, Barbara.
Quite an accurate representation of photography in the 90s, Pamela. Priceless. So, that's all for now. Join us next week when we'll look through all my photos one by one.
So you're not decluttering any of this rubbish?
I am not, and I'll thank you not to call it rubbish. What's that burning smell, Pamela?
I took it upon myself to start a bonfire.
For what?
Your collection of used tissues from the Backstreet Boys tour bus circa 1994.
Oh, right.
I love a good podcast. And when I find one I really like, I tell everyone I know about it. I grab my phone and I share the podcast with everyone in my address book. And then I post about the podcast on social media. Then I rate and review the podcast. And then I have a warm feeling inside for the rest of the day. Just saying. I hope you're enjoying this episode of Limited Time Only. I know I am. Now, where's my phone? Crisscross will make you jump.
Okay, so I'm going to give you a category, Esther.
Okay.
And I would like you to tell me the first thing that comes to your mind in that category from the 90s.
Okay.
Are you ready?
Yes. Always ready.
90s Nostalgia Fest.
Okay.
Okay, first thing from the 1990s that comes to your head.
Okay.
When I say a book.
Remember Me by Remember Me by Christopher Pike. I remember and falling in love with, but Judy Blume. There was a classic book, and there was a man who had a penis called Jeremy in it, and everybody talked about it.
I don't think I've
what
ever
was it
read
called?
that.
Judy Blume. Oh my God, it's such a classic. It was. Is it Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. Forever by Judy Blume.
Wow.
Yeah, it was quite an eye opener. I read the whole book in one night. I devoured it.
Gosh, I need to read it.
You do. It's quite an education.
When I thought of a book, the first one that came to my head was Captain Corelli's Mandolin.
Oh, really? Oh, well, you see, that just shows the difference between you and I, Susie.
Well, I don't know. All right, then. Next category.
Okay.
Food.
Oh, pasta with cheese on.
Mine is garlic bread.
Oh, garlic bread. It's the future.
Okay. TV programme.
Oh.
It's quite hard.
Oh, well, only because we just talked about it off air. TFI, can I have 3? TFI Friday, Big Breakfast, Vicar of Dibley. Ab-Fab! Oh, Ab-Fab as well.
Okay, they're good. I would go, Don't Forget Your Toothbrush.
Oh, yeah?
Neighbours. Blackadder.
Did Blackadder? Oh, yeah, Blackadder did go into the nice, but only just, I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
And Friends.
Oh, Friends. Oh, God, yeah, watch that every week. Religiously.
Blackadder was 90s. Oh,
No.
you're right. You're right.
No, I think the last series was 1990.
Oh my giddy aunt. I'm really shocked. Yeah, last aired 2nd of November 1989.
Yeah.
So I was watching that, very
You're probably
quite
just
young.
watching repeats.
No, I was younger because I do remember the last episode. Anyway, Friends, Neighbours, Red Dwarf, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Oh, whose line is it anyway as well?
Oh yeah. Music.
One song from the 90s. Oh, God, this is a random one that's just popped into my head, and I don't know why I've thought of this one. You say I only hear what I want to.
Oh yeah.
You remember that song? That's just come into my head. It wasn't a classic track for me, but that's what's popped in. I'd probably go Smells Like Teen Spirit, though.
Oh yeah. I have got. Now this is quite weird because I thought of Cypress Hill, Jump Around.
Oh
Jump
my
around,
God,
dude,
yes.
Jump around and jump up and get down.
House of Pain.
Jump.
Everybody
But how
jump.
weird is this, right? I thought about this morning, and what came on the radio, Zoe Ball's breakfast show this morning.
Jump Around.
I was absolutely flabbergasted.
Do you know what? That song just gets me in my feet, and they literally just start jumping as soon as that comes on. I just love it.
Absolute
oh my
classic.
God.
Yeah.
Revs me right up. Well,
I mean, we could go on for revs me right up. We could go on forever about music, but we can't. So I'm going to move on. We're going to go to sport.
Oh, Christ. I'm not into sport. Oh, going to the Albion with my dad every week. Football.
Oh, that's sweet.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go Euro 96.
Oh, yeah.
Because that was, immense.
Sport's never massively been on my radar, but I did go to the Albion for a number of years. Actually, there was one game that was brilliant where we went, where the Albion got promoted and went up into the Olympic Gallery and had like really high up seats, which was supposed to be really good. But my dad's terrified of heights, so I just kept.
Oh no!
He was literally holding on to it, which I have actually inherited from him. I'm absolutely terrified of heights now.
Oh no!
And
I didn't know that.
Yeah, but it was I'm not good. When we went up the Eiffel Tower with the kids and they lay on the plastic.
Oh, that is high.
And I was like, I can't even look at you. Oh my God.
Yeah. Bath-tastic.
Bath, that's a 90s word.
Yeah. Okay, I've got another category, which is film.
Oh, that's weird. Okay, 2 films have popped into my head. Don't know why again. American Beauty, which was the end of the 90s.
Oh, yes.
And Pump Up the Volume with Christian Slater.
Oh, what a great... Oh, my
That was
goodness,
a good
Christian
film.
Slater.
Yes.
Absolutely adore him.
Pump Up the Volume.
Yes, that was a great
It
film.
was. I don't know why that's come from either. Isn't it interesting
good.
when you say a word and something pops out of your head? from the recesses.
My film from the 90s would be Trainspotting.
Oh my goodness. Such
Yeah.
a good shout. I went to see that with my mate Hayley. And we came out feeling very rebellious. It did not have the right effect on us. We came out, we're like, what can we go and do? It was like the middle of the day. Like,
What can we jack up?
What can we get? Let's go and find some heroin. We went like that. But we came out sort of feeling like we wanted to be cool and edgy. So
Yes.
such a good. I can't watch it now. I can, but we tried to watch it about a year ago. It was on Film 4.
Is it too grim?
It's the baby. It's the dead baby. I can't tolerate it now. I was fine at 18, but now I'm like, oh, this is unbearable. Yeah,
No.
but it's such a good film.
Talking about now you said coming out of the cinema. The other I've got a very very vivid memory of going to watch Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
Oh yes, yeah.
And coming out, and I even remember what T-shirt I was wearing because I came out and it was a fitted white T-shirt with a little sun on the middle of the chest, very small, sort of on my sternum, and it was soaking wet because I had cried and cried and cried, and it was just I was soaking wet T-shirt, not the whole thing, but that sort of middle, the chest bit where it's running down my neck because it was so. Oh God, that was a beautiful film, and I think because they were our age, weren't they? And well, a bit older actually. But...
Would you know? Slightly older, but our old drama teacher put me forward for the role of
You're
Juliet. He sent
kidding.
my photograph off. No, sent my photograph. I never got seen because it was Claire Danes and Leonardo DiCaprio, but and she was in My So-Called Life, another great 90s show.
Oh, that's so sweet that he did that.
He sent my photograph off for it and CV and whatever. So yeah, but it's such a good film. Titanic as well.
I mean, I'm sure you were second choice, Esther.
Absolutely.
It was down to you and Claire.
To be honest, I just turned it down. I was like, do I want to make out with Leonardo DiCaprio? And no, I'm not interested.
Oh my goodness. Claim to fame. Amazing.
Yeah, well, it's not really. It's
I like it.
It's
I'm now forever
brilliant.
going to think you nearly got the part of Juliet in Baz Luhrmann's Romeo and Juliet.
That's the official line.
That's the line, yeah.
Yeah. But Titanic as well, of course. That was 90s.
Yes.
Pretty Woman.
God.
All these sort of
Classics.
Sense and Sensibility. Oh, I love that.
You love
film
that.
So much.
What about clothes?
Oh, clothes. Oh, those sort of combat trousers that had like pockets.
Yeah.
Like the All Saints. Like All Saints wore. And like a zip-up hoodie. I remember once going around to my friend Mel's to meet her, and I'd got a pair of blue combat trousers on, a white vest top, and a black hoodie, and my hair was tied back. And I got there, and she was dressed identically to me, and I was I was really severely hinting, please go and change, because we were going shopping together, and we just looked really
But we
sad.
all wore the same, didn't we?
But I mean, literally, we couldn't have been more
I
identical.
see.
So it was quite cold outside. So I took my hair down because she didn't change. I took my hair down and I took my hoodie off. But I was heavily hinting, please go and change, please go and change, because I live 4 or 5 miles away and I can't go back and change. So, but we just left the house looking like I was mortified.
Yeah.
So I then walked around in like a little t-shirt, really cold, freezing. But yeah, that sort of clothes.
Yeah, definitely. My 90s outfit that immediately came to my mind was Doc Martin boots that I bought from the rag market for 25 quid, and I then had to scuff up because I didn't want them to look new. And my mum was like, what are you doing to your brand new boots? I'm like, well, I can't be seen out with shiny Doc Martin boots. Are you mad? Leggings and German army shirt, or a jumper and shirt borrowed off my dad. And I literally did borrow my dad's clothes.
Yeah, I did. My dad had a brilliant bottle green. It was so beautiful. It was such a gorgeous colour. A bottle green cardigan from the 60s, and I used to wear that. And then the elbows fell out basically.
Fell out.
But oh my God, I loved that. Yeah, but I was DM's girl and a grunge, and we used to go to this shop called Rofer's where you'd buy like hippie skirts tie-dyed, and then it was,
that was big.
That was such a big thing. And then by the end of the 90s, I was suddenly into like little short dresses and heels and going clubbing.
It all went wrong.
Yeah, I went through the whole phase.
The other outfit I vividly remember is when I wore accidentally almost full denim. So I had jeans and I had a denim jacket, and my friend Alex, I went shopping with her in Kings Heath. And I said, oh my goodness, I'm just denim. I look like a French exchange student. So I then pretended to be her French exchange student in King's Heath and embarrassed her so much. I was going, Alex, why are you not talking to me? I come all the way from France for a week and you're ignoring me. And all these people giving me sort of sympathetic looks in the card. In Card Factory or whatever. I definitely remember looking at birthday cards with her. But yeah, I was just trying to wind her up, really. But I did look like a French exchange student.
What is that about us all, though? Because me and my friends used to go to Worcester on the train, and I would put on a Scottish accent and say that my name was Robin, and then we'd all come up with these characters, and we'd stand in the middle of Worcester pretending we were having an argument. I mean, it's so weird.
It is weird. It's exhibitionism.
It's exhibitionism from all of us, from me and my friends, who none of them went into drama, and none of them were interested in drama, to my knowledge. But we'd stand there, and to get into a Scottish accent, I have to say a line, which was on a letter once. It's most important you let me know if you'll not be able to attend.
That's really good.
And we'd get into Worcester and we'd stand there and they'd be like, and I'd be like, what are you talking about?
That's so good. You sound like Line of Duty woman.
Oh, the one in the last
Kelly
series.
MacDonald. You sound like Kelly MacDonald.
Oh, I'll take that. Me and the Kelster.
So those are my categories for 90s quickfire nostalgia.
I liked it.
I want to go out and, I don't know, dress in full denim and listen to Blur and eat Pop-Tarts.
Oh, Pop-Tarts! Yeah. Good shout, Suze.
Yeah.
Yo, I'll tell you what I want, what I really, really want.
Can you hear me?
Yes, can you hear us?
I can hear you perfectly. Is that better?
Yes.
Yes, so much better. Yeah. Basically, you sounded like a Dalek underwater.
You know what, that happened? I did something recently with Danny Minogue, and that happened, and I ended up using my kids' Spider-Man headphones instead.
Oh, just for Danny.
Today's guest is the multi-talented legend that is Ian H. Watkins, also known as H from Steps. Singer, actor, father, artist, radio presenter, and LGBTQIA+ icon. H has packed a lot into his life so far. And together, Steps have sold over 22 million records, supported Britney Spears on tour, are Brit Award winners, and this year they are celebrating 25 years with a summer tour, Platinum Collection album, which is out in August, and a new single, Hard to Forget. We talked to H about his proudest moments, living authentically, how important it was for him to be in a same-sex couple in Dancing on Ice, being a good role model to his sons, and, of course, about Steps and all they've achieved. So, without further ado, welcome to the show, H.
I'm sorry, this doesn't look very glamorous. I've got like a shitty old lampshade.
But look at your top and your face. That's all you need. You look great.
I've seen all your decorations as well. Look at all that.
We weren't sure if it was a bit like, I don't know, stalkerish. But yeah,
No.
there's a little bit of you leaping through the air. There's some fairy lights and there's some steps.
Yep.
I got the reference. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for coming on the podcast. We are very excited to have you on.
You're very welcome. Do you know what? I don't say yes to many things just because I'm a busy parent, but you know what? I'm honoured.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
we're ruddy honoured, I tell you. I can't believe we've got a global pop star on them. I mean, what? So, yeah.
You're kidding me. I'm an exhausted parent. That's exactly.
Yeah.
Then we're all kindred spirits then. Can we start by saying a massive, massive congratulations. 25 years of Steps. Incredible.
I mean, I don't know what to say to that, really. I mean,
No.
if you'd have told me that we would have reached this milestone, you know, way back when we released a little line dancing single that everybody laughed at us, and we kept releasing records, and, you know, all the cool cats in the industry laughed louder. And you know what? None of those cool cats are around anymore.
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
the last laugh.
Yes, exactly. And you bring so much joy, don't you? I mean, whenever I hear your music, everybody gets on the dance floor. It just brings joy to everybody. And my God, do we need that at the moment?
Oh, yeah.
Did you always know you wanted to be a performer?
I mean, there was no choice, really. It was kind of in me from a very, very early age, I guess. My mum saw something in me, and you know what? I guess if I was a child of today, I definitely would have been diagnosed on a spectrum of some kind. So my mum, you know, back then, nobody knew what that was. I was just labelled a naughty child. You know, I always had ants in my pants. I never kept still. So my mum decided to channel that energy into a local amateur dramatic theatre group. And that's where it started, really, when I was 9. And I've never looked back, really.
Yeah. Amazing.
And so was acting what you wanted to do originally?
I had so many interests when I was a child. I loved performing, or I wouldn't say performing, but I loved the feedback.
You like the praise?
Yeah, I mean, who doesn't like, you know, a round of applause? So
it's the applause, isn't it? It's the applause.
Yeah, so I lived for the reaction of me telling a joke or telling a song, or I learned guitar when I was very young. So I loved, you know, the adulation, I guess, of doing something that everybody liked.
Yeah.
I also I threw myself into art. So I was a very keen painter, and I've recently gone back to that as well. And also animals, I loved. So it was a toss-up between being a performer, a vet, or an artist. There you go.
Wow.
Vet television presenter.
It could still happen.
So my vet dreams were smashed because I failed all of my sciences. And yes, and I lived my safe place. And we grew up in a very different age now, you know. Luckily, my friends' children who are teenagers and are going through their GCSEs, and they live in a world which is full of freedom and self-expression. And hopefully my children, you know, will grow up in an even better and more progressive society. But when I was growing up, I never had like-minded people. I never found my tribe. I could never speak to anybody. And I'm talking about my sexuality. You know, there weren't many people that were out. It wasn't accepted. You know, there was the AIDS crisis. So if you said that you were gay, everyone automatically thought that you were suffering with AIDS, which is a complete misconception, of course.
Yeah.
And all of those myths are being smashed today by trailblazers like one of my good friends, Gareth Thomas. You know, so many incredible things have happened. But when I was a kid, I felt very lonely. I was bullied. I was followed home from school. I was beaten up. And I'm not saying that for a sob story. That's exactly how it was. But my solace, my safe place was the art room. And I just threw myself. I literally dived into being creative, drawing, life drawing, model making, animation. And it's something that I've started to kind of dip my toe back in those waters now. But
it's the escapism, isn't it, into art, into something else, controlling that world, being who you are, being looked at for a different reason. And my daughter's 15 and she's gay, and she came out to me a couple of years ago, but I always had a feeling. And I sort of look back now and reading and knowing bits about you. I'm so glad that you did Dancing on Ice, because she needs to see role models like that. And it's a different world for her now, which I'm really pleased about, because if she'd have been born at a different time, you know, she'd have been treated so differently. And we need people like you to break down these barriers.
Thank you. You know, that was the reason that I said that I would do Dancing on Ice under this condition. I wanted the representation that I never had when I was a child. I wouldn't have felt so lonely. I wouldn't have felt so isolated. I could have found like-minded people. So to have that representation on a national television show, which actually went viral, it went across the world. And, you know, it may not have changed a lot of people's minds, but it started conversations in little rural communities for people like myself that never felt included, never felt that they could carry on. So for those reasons, all of those boxes were ticked for me.
It's brilliant. And I think I sort of reading up, I sort of forgot that it wasn't until 2007 that you came out. And then watching the Britney Spears documentary and everything, I was thinking, oh my God, it's changed so much the way people are treated in the press. And it must have been a big thing to come out in 2007.
Well, you know, my coming out story wasn't, I guess, a happy one. You would like to think that when you come out, it's under your own terms. You know, you have the freedom to speak your truth when you're ready. But my story was that the press were hounding anybody that was in the closet or anybody that wasn't out publicly. You know, it was a time where newspapers, you know, would put you on the front pages for being gay, whereas today it's really not that big a deal. You know, they hounded peers of mine, you know, Stephen Gately. He got, you know, a thrashing. There's so many people that, you know, even if you were bisexual, I could mention lots of names, but it wouldn't be fair, you know. And I got a call. I had a long-term partner at the time, and I was on holiday abroad, and I got a call from a newspaper saying, we know your story. Unless you give us quotes, then we're going to run the story anyway. So I didn't give them any quotes. I thought, I have to go home and tell my parents, tell the people that I love. So I hopped on a plane, cut my holiday short, told my parents, told my family, my brothers. Of course, they were okay with it. You know, they, you know, give me a hug and said, it doesn't matter. We know anyway. You know, it was just, we were waiting for you to tell us, which was amazing. But you know what? They didn't run the story because I didn't give them quotes. And I just felt like my truth had been taken away from me. I absolutely wasn't ready to live my authentic self or tell my story or come out. So I felt that was, you know, that's something that I have, I guess, a bit of PTSD about. You know, there's a lot of trauma there because of that situation. And it's something I'm dealing with, and, you know, and things are great now. But, you know, back then it was a really dark time. It really was.
With Dancing on Ice, does that help in some way?
It felt like everything had come full circle, you know, from being forced to actually come out, to actually being on a TV show where I could be my authentic self under my own terms, to inspire all of those young LGBTQI plus people. And also, I'm a dad now. So for my children to see me living my life loud and proud, being my authentic self. And, you know, I always tell my kids, you know, Daddy is dancing with his prince. So Matt was my prince. Yeah. And he was the ice prince. And it was, you know, even though my kids are 6 now, and they still ask about the ice prince.
Oh, have they met him?
Yes, they have. So we used to rehearse. We used to practice a lot in Cardiff Ice Rink, and I'd bring the kids down a lot, and they've been on the ice. And since the pandemic is actually over now, my kids, we skate every Saturday together.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Are you doing like the full spins and kind of?
Well, you know it's kind of nice. No, I'm not doing that.
Doing a bit of
I mean, I
talking.
was kind of that was under pressure, so I had to learn, you know, a 1 foot spin, or you know, a three turn. You know, it was just mind blowing, the stuff we had to learn in
terrifying
of a couple of days. So, and I don't have to do that. I just do it now for pleasure, and I see my kids doing it. And you know, you have kids; they're just like sponges, and Max is just literally gliding the whole length of the rink on 1 foot. It's like, what?
Wow.
How? I guess because they don't have so far to fall as well. So.
That's it. The balance. Yeah.
It's not quite as scary. So was that your motivator for doing Dancing on Ice? Or was it more that you wanted to dance on ice? Or was it more and have a challenge? Or more was it that, you know, you wanted to be authentic and lead the way?
All of those things. You know, I love a reality show, which is what it is, but it's skill-based. It's something that I had wanted to do for so many years. It was the top of my bucket list, Dancing on Ice. And I tried out for it before 3 times. And, you know, it's when they're casting a show, it's like a jigsaw. So, you know, they had somebody from a soap, somebody from the music business, you know, but these days it's a social media influencer. Or somebody from Love Island. But back then it was a very different casting process. But I tried out before and I'd never made the cut. But this time I got the call and I said, I'll do it under this condition. And they were so supportive. ITV were just incredible and flew, you know, the LGBTQI plus flag, completely embraced myself and Matt. And when we had the backing of the network and the channel and the producers, we felt like we could do anything. And, you know, it didn't matter how far we got in the competition. As soon, and Gareth told me this. So Gareth Thomas, he's one of my besties. He came to our first skate, and he said, and it's so true now when I look back, it doesn't matter what you do, from the moment you step on the ice, every other person in that competition will be irrelevant. And I don't want to disrespect my fellow contestants, but in 10 years' time, nobody will remember anything else but that first dance.
Yeah,
dance.
So emotional.
Yeah.
I was watching it again the other day, and it was like, everybody's crying.
I can't even tell you the amount of focus, the amount of nerves. But it just felt like years and years of suppression, years of hiding, years of knocking on doors, you know, asking people, you know, begging people to represent, to have visibility, and it all landed in those 2 minutes.
Amazing.
It was the most nerve-wracking 2 minutes of my life. I can't even tell you.
You smashed it. And also because you'd had your agency taken away from you all those years ago and your hand forced, which I'm not surprised that you have PTSD from it, because that's horrendous. But then to be able to take that control back, to put yourself on the ice, to be breaking down barriers, and like I say, having a 15-year-old daughter, and to have people like you who are visible, who are you know, blazing through and just having that visibility there, it's not such a big issue for her. And so I'm really grateful to you, and I'm really grateful that she's born at the time she's born, and hopeful that it'll just get better and easier.
Thank you. And that means a lot. And since the pandemic, you know, we've all reevaluated our lives and our careers. And for me, what I put out there, I think people have a tendency on social medias, on Instagram and Twitter, to literally document every part of their day, because they think that more likes, more followers makes you more popular. But I want to use my socials now to do good, to represent, to create visibility, inclusion. And it's one of the reasons why. So on our last tour, I can't even believe I did it. And it felt so empowering. So in one of the sections on tour, I came out in a full-on ball gown.
Oh, wow! That's so cool!
And it's not something, you know, it's not like I do the school run in a dress. But if I wanted to, I could. But I did it because one of my little boys loves wearing dresses.
So does mine. Mine loves it.
They're in pink.
Yeah.
And you know what? They push their trucks around in their prams. Yeah. And I have zero problem with that. But he started to be a little bit conscious about things, you know, Daddy, boys can only wear blue. And I said, no, you know, boys can wear pink as well. So the next day I wore pink from head to toe and took him to school just to show. And he was like, I'd like to wear pink shorts now, Daddy. I was, of course you can. But he started to want to wear dresses. And look, it's just play. And even if it was heading in a direction, I would just let him be exactly who he wanted to be. But I wanted him to see me in a ball gown, in the biggest ball gown, still in the show, living loud and proud. And he loved it. And so for me, to represent all of those little queer children out there that think that it's not acceptable, that they can't do it, you can be exactly who you want to be. You have a step show is all about having a safe space. You know, we have an open door policy. It doesn't matter how you identify, you know, what gender, what color, what ability. You come and you live your best life. And that's what it's about. And
that is why Steps has, partly why, other than the fact you're all hugely talented and the music's fantastic, that you've endured 25 years, because you're so accessible and so joyful. And I was going to ask you if you've recovered from the Platinum Jubilee weekend, because I know there was a big show that you did on, was it Friday? At the
yes, just gone. Well, you know what? We actually pre-recorded that a couple of weeks ago. So that was in the bag. So we knew that was coming out. We've just had It's been a bit of a roller coaster. I mean, whenever Steps as a band, we have, our own lives. So 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was our life. And we lived, breathed. We got up and had breakfast together as Steps. We went, went for a night out, and we ended up, it was just, everything was saturated with Steps. Yeah. And now it's amazing because we all have our own lives. We have our own children. We have businesses. So it's our job. Yeah. And it's beautiful that we can dip in and out. So literally I went from on our last tour, headlining the O2 to doing swimming lessons the next day.
Brilliant.
Literally,
I think parenthood really has that effect, doesn't it? You really can't.
It grounds you.
You can't be. It's always going to go back to having to change someone's nappy, or
and and when you have twins, it is something else.
Oh wow!
Seriously, I mean, Leah's just had a little boy, Leo, his name is, and he's coming up to 10 months now. But he did, in the early days, he messaged me and he went, "How did you do 2? How?"
I don't know how you do it.
But I suppose it's all you've known.
Exactly. So if I'd had one first, and then had 2, I would have been like,
yeah.
But if I'd have one again now, it would be like a breeze in the park.
Yeah.
I mean, what?
Yeah. What are you whinging about?
Me?
Your new parents.
I will say though, I mean, I had mine in a military routine, from day one, and thank the Lord they have slept since they were 3 months. They're 12-hour babies still.
Wow.
Oh my gosh.
Oh my God, they're incredible. Yeah.
Mine still isn't. Mine still doesn't sleep through. He's nearly 4.
You need to send H round.
Yeah. I'm not going to criticize anyone's parenting because we all do it differently. But for me, I was a single parent, and that's what I had to do to survive. If one of mine were crying, I picked them up and they stopped. I put them back down, because I knew they were playing me. They've never been, they've always been in their own room. They've never been in if they're ill, they've never been in bed with me.
Oh, wow.
In fact, if they have been ill, I've slept on the floor with them just to make sure they're okay. But they've never, ever been in with me. I do tough love. They have chores they do. They clean up after themselves. They put their clothes in the washing basket.
You should write a book. You should write a book. I'd buy it.
Oh, I ain't got time to write a book. I ain't got time to brush my teeth.
Yes, how because obviously Steps recently, it's all kind of ramped up again, hasn't it? Well, the last few years, and Esther and I were just saying before you came on because we've obviously been listening to lots of your music and stuff. I mean, what the future holds is my absolute favourite.
Both love that.
Absolute bang. I mean, they all are, obviously, because it's Steps, but I was like, oh my god, I played it about 5 times last night.
Do you know what? If I wasn't in Steps, I always say I would love Steps because he's such a pop boy. I love great pop music. And I think a lot of the music that's out there at the moment, it really is all about production. And those songs will never stand the test of time. Whereas, I don't want to blow our own trumpets, but we are still around for a reason. We have, dare I say, an incredible back catalogue that people identify with. And there are moments that really mean a lot to people because of songs in our career. Tragedy seems to be a song that's played at everybody's wedding, which is really weird. But it's because of the video, right? Yeah. Because we're all in wedding dresses. Heartbeat, we get stories that, people, it was their first snog. Yeah. Things like that. And I love that we are part of people's, the soundtrack to their lives.
Yeah, it is.
I love that.
And actually it's really nice because, well, I have to say, first of all, you're all like our age. How do you all look so good? Yeah, you all look absolutely amazing.
Are you kidding me?
Oh,
I mean,
God,
I'm just like,
you're all so
really
fit and attractive. How have you done it?
I think it's having young children, because when my kids were little, I was never more buff because I was constantly lugging someone around and I never had time to eat. So I was literally in the best shape of my life. So
yeah, and I had a twin carrier, so I literally had this thing. It was God. It looked like some kind of sex harness. But then you just pop 2 babies in. Yeah. Like walking around my village with literally looking like I had 2 massive knockers. 2 heads.
You can say save it for when they're older and they've moved out. Keep it for future life. Who writes the songs for you guys? Do you write the songs now?
So way back when we first started, so we were signed with Pete Waterman. And Pete Waterman was iconic to me. And I guess if you were a child of the 80s, any PWL artist was on your wall. So there was Kylie, Jason, Rick Astley, Mel and Kim, Bananarama, you know, all of those were part of my bedroom wall. And I just remember walking into Pete Waterman Studios and just literally with my jaw on the floor going, you know, Kylie, Jason, Bananarama, Sonia, and all of these people I grew up with. And the studio hadn't changed at all. So we were literally singing on the same mics that Kylie recorded, you know, I Should Be So Lucky, and Rick had recorded Never Gonna Give You Up. It was just like, what?
Yeah, mind-blowing.
Yeah, and that was 25 years ago. And, you know, I never take anything that we do for granted. We've just done a massive festival over the weekend called Mighty Hoopla.
Yes, yeah.
Which was, it's literally, so there's 250,000 people on site.
Wow.
It's just insane. And we'd been rehearsing, you know, for 2 weeks. And we'd also released the news that we have the Steps Platinum Collection. So that's just been released for pre-order. And we were all chatting and in our little WhatsApp group. And I was like, guys, I'm really excited. I have butterflies because, you know, we were all up early. So we all get sent our socials ready to post, and we kind of customize it and all the assets. And we're all there ready, like before 9 o'clock going, right, are you ready? Guys, you ready? I'm ready. I'm out the shower. I've had breakfast. I've had a coffee. We're all ready. And I was like, guys, I'm really excited. I've got butterflies. And to have that feeling still after 25 years is, you know, I never take it for granted. It's just amazing. When you think there's so many artists, so the stats are on Spotify, 50,000 artists, new artists, release their first record every day.
Wow.
What?
So how do you even gain visibility in that sea of artists?
That's
So
mind-blowing.
you know what? To still be relevant and selling out arenas and headlining shows after 25 years is just, you know, awesome.
But your new stuff it's not like you're just, you know, relying on your back catalogue. You've got really fantastic new music that as you say will stand the test of time. I mean, that I'd get up on the dance floor to any of your new songs. They're so good. What is brilliant as well is that you're a group and there's 5 of you, and that doesn't happen very often anymore, does it? There's not many groups out there.
Well, I mean, I think the key to keep going is probably keep the original members.
Yeah.
We always said, you know, if it wasn't the 5 of us, we wouldn't do this. We would not want to tarnish our legacy. We didn't want to water it down. You know, we achieved immense things, you know, back in the day. So it was 5 or nothing. Our first arena tour after, so we did a TV show called Steps Reunion, and it was the first of these you know, band reunions, getting back together, airing their dirty laundry, working out the differences. And we basically sold our arena tour, which was like 30 dates, off the back of that TV show. So there was no new music, no new album. And then the decision or the question was, do we take this forward? Do we want to take this forward? Because none of us have to do this. We do this because we want to do it. And the only way forward is not by doing nostalgia shows. It's not relying on your back catalogue. And as much as people love that, if we want longevity and if we want to point forward, we have to release new music. And that's what our fans wanted, or at least we thought that's what they wanted. Because of course, at that point, there's no definite, there's no certain. So then the next question was, what do we do? What do we sound like 10 years later? And we made the decision. We had so many songs pitched to us, so many ideas. And we made the decision to stay true to ourselves. It wasn't about production. It was all about cracking melodies. It was all about, I mean, the Steps ingredients are, you know, bittersweet lyrics, you know, which are quite dark with, and it, and it doesn't really marry, but a really, you know, kind of upbeat tune, dark lyrics, and a key change.
Yes.
And some great choreography.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
you know.
but all of those are like, you know, they're sprinkles on top.
Yeah.
But, you know, the core ingredients are those. And so the first song we had written for us, which was, oh my goodness, what a banger. An incredible singer-songwriter called Fiona Bevan, was Scared of the Dark. And that was the blueprint for everything that you hear now. You know, that was, you know, the comeback single, I guess. Yeah. And since then we've had, oh my goodness me, we had Neon Blue, which is one of my favorites, Something in Your Eyes, a song you've just mentioned,
yes.
What the Future Holds, which was written for us by Sia.
Oh, wow.
You know,
it's great.
You know, and if you'd have told me 25 years ago that we would still be here doing it, still releasing records, I would have laughed at you. I would have laughed. Really? But I'm eternally grateful.
And it sounds like you've really got a good balance now as well, where, like you say, it's a job, whereas initially it was all consuming. I mean, do you feel, because you were obviously all very young when you got into the band, do you feel like you missed out on a chapter? Because we all have the days in our teens where, you know, we go and get smashed down the park and all that kind of stuff. But I guess you didn't really have that because you were constantly on the go.
Well, I really appreciate that, because you think that I'm younger than I am.
How old were you, 21 or something? Were you 21 when you...
Yeah, but that's the point. So we'd done a lot of partying. We'd lived our lives. So, you know, I joined the band when I was 21. So we weren't children, whereas a lot of our peers were signed when they were 16, 15, you know, way, you know, before they were 20. So I guess we were very savvy. So we always had an eye on our record company, on our outgoings, on our, you know, what was coming in. Because when you're young and you're getting thrown millions of pounds at you by a record company, you don't realize that you're actually paying for that. You know, you just think you're having a lovely time and you're ordering bottles of champagne and limos, and you have, you know, you're dripping from head to toe in Prada. Ultimately, you're paying for that. But we were really savvy very, very early on. And that's why we kept our budgets really, really small. And everything was recouped. Whereas our peers were, you know, spending 600 grand on a video, whereas ours cost 50.
Yeah.
Which is still a lot of money. But in the big scheme of things, you know, back then, you know, £1 million for a video is just insane. Yeah. Why would you? No, because you ultimately pay for that and you don't earn money until that is recouped. Basically, a record company is a bank that gives you a loan. And we paid all of our very small loans back very quickly, which is why we did so well.
Yeah, very clever.
It's very good that, like you say, you weren't naive, basically. You were that little bit older.
It's so lovely looking at the photos of you guys when, you know, that's because it's basically just 90s, and it's all quite, it's a bit more innocent, all that stuff, isn't it? When I look at the videos, I'm like, that was me. That's me at university. That's how I looked. And it's so lovely. It's just lovely.
But we weren't as polished as a lot of the young ladies now. I mean, I look back at photos of me at 18 and I've got no idea what the hell I'm doing.
You know, they're all fans of Drag Race, and all they do is literally study. They literally, I mean, teenagers now are like drag queens. They are contoured, they have weaves, they have wigs.
Yeah,
they look
it's mad. And Botox really early. Tell us some of your highlights through your career. What are some of the bits that really stand out to you?
My goodness. I have really fond memories. You know, we've done incredible things throughout our career. But one really poignant moment for me was really early on. And it probably means nothing to anybody else. It wasn't broadcast, but it was when we had our first record, our album launch. And it was called Step One, our first album. We were just, I guess, on the cusp of massive success. You know, we'd released 5, 6, 7, 8, which was met with lukewarm reviews. We'd had Last Thing on My Mind. Then One for Sorrow was the one that people went, oh, okay, they're not just a novelty band. And then we released the album, and then Tragedy came. So it was just when we were really, really, I guess, on that wave. And we had all of our family there, all of my friends were there, all of our loved ones were there, and we had this incredible, intimate album launch. And it was just so special, because after that point, we just exploded, and it just felt like we shared something really, really intimate and special together.
Yes.
And we belonged to our friends and family, and then after that, we were everybody's property.
Yeah.
It's that moment before you know you're creating something special and it's about to go, and that sort of intimacy of that moment.
Yeah, very much so. And, you know, at that point, you know, my grandparents were still alive and they came to London. I treated all of my friends and my family. I put them on a coach. I paid for all of their hotels. And just to do something like that, you know, for a little boy from the Rhondda that, you know, used to scrounge a fiver off his grand for train fare. Do that, you know, it meant a lot to me. And then with my first pay packet, I bought my parents a house. So that's one of the first things. And I guess another thing that I'm super proud of, just to say thank you, you know, for all of the times they'd driven me to Amdram.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, that. I mean, that's one very poignant moment. But again, so many incredible moments, like we've talked about dancing on ice. Another time was when, so all of our stars aligned. So on our Tears on the Dance Floor tour, a lot of us had children at that point, and it just so happened that all of our children were actually in the same country. They were all in London, and we went, let's do this. Let's bring them on stage with us, because it'll never happen again. And so my boys were something like 18 months at the time. So Lisa's children, Faye's little boy, Claire's children. At that point, Lee didn't have children. And we brought them on stage for It's the Way You Make Me Feel.
Oh, God. I'm going to cry. Oh, God.
Me too.
It is still, it is, and even though Dancing on Ice is my proudest moment professionally, having all of our children on stage with us from a personal perspective, that for me, it outdoes any award, you know, it was just amazing.
Wow. Got quite a lot of audience questions for you.
Oh God, we've got millions.
But before
millions.
we're gonna do, and they're quite quick.
Look, I've got my shorts on, by the way.
There you go.
And you may notice that I've still got the leftover of fake tan.
Was that from Hoopla?
It is from Hoopla, because he had my legs out.
Hey.
Oh. Knees are a bugger with fake tan.
Oh, but you know what? Because I don't fake tan head to toe. I just fake tan the bits I need. So I literally arms, my cleavage, and my legs. Everything else is white.
Brilliant. Oh, well, they're quite quick fire questions. But before we do them, I really wanted to ask you about your musical theatre background, because I love musical theatre, and I kind of feel like a slight affinity with you for going back and training at a later stage. Because I went to the Royal Welsh College to do a postgrad in acting when I was 29. So I was like, well, yeah, because you went to the Royal Academy of Music, didn't you, to do musical theatre?
I did. So when I was 10, I did my first show with a little company in the Rhondda Valley called Spotlight Theatre Company. And the first show I did was Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. And I played the youngest brother, Benjamin. And I used to sit in the wings every night, and a guy called Mark was playing Joseph, and I would literally just like be in awe. He'd be singing Close Every Door, and I'm just like dreaming one day. And then my dream came true. It all went full circle. And my first theatre job in the West End was playing Joseph. And I would always literally, at the top of the number, I'd close every door to me. I would literally think of me, 10-year-old me, going, wow. Yeah. Like, mind-blowing. So I did that job, and even though I had sung for many, many years, I wanted to gain respect from my peers, my musical theatre peers. I wanted casting directors to take me seriously. So after my first theatre job, I decided to audition for the Royal Academy of Music, just so I could learn how to use my tools as an actor, learn how to use my voice in a more effective way. And so I did that for a year, and a postgraduate, which was, do you know what? It was tough, because anything when you're older, that's harder, right? Any skill you're learning. So I went as a postgrad, but not only as a postgrad, I'd just gone from filling arenas to, I guess, back to college every day, jumping on the tube, doing my warm up, putting my stuff in my little locker. And a lot of people, I guess, respected me for doing that, because I wanted to learn. I was hungry. I wanted to gain respect. And when I finished my course, that's exactly what happened. I got auditions, I got meetings with people I never would have had before, because of that reason. So for me, it was, box ticked.
Brilliant. Yeah, it's it's very humble of you as well, I think, to have done that, because I was working as actor before I went to drama school, but not quite on the same level as you say, selling out arenas. And until you'd played Joseph in the West End, and then you went back. Yes, that's incredible. I think it's really
yeah, and and I lived, oh my goodness me, it was my dream from day one to to do musical theatre, and I did some incredible jobs. One of my favourites was I did Fame in the West End. Oh, that was just joyous. Oh my goodness me. I did Chitty Bang Bang. I did lots of plays. I've had a very varied, colourful career, and it's something I would still love to do now, but I'm a dad, and I can't go away for 6 months at a time. I can't go on tour. I didn't become a dad for other people to look after my children, so I'm very fortunate that I have decided my children come first, and I can dip in and out of steps. So like I say, I do the O2 Arena one night, and I do the school run the next morning. So that's my life. Yeah,
that is brilliant.
That sounds like the best balanced life I know, actually. You're getting to be at home with your boys, and then you're getting to do your work and create something wonderful and bring joy into people's lives. It's great. Okay, so first question, Hayley, would you encourage your kids to go into showbiz?
I would love them to be happy and do whatever they want to do. At the moment, they are Max wants to be a professor. He wants to be a scientist, and Cubby wants to be an inventor. So they're heading down that route at the moment. But it changes. Cubby wants to be a skateboarder the next day. So who knows?
Okay, I've got one from Susan Hawkins. What is your favourite step song to sing?
Oh, wow. It's changed over the years. I love One for Sorrow, because that's old school. But you know what I love now? There's a song that we released recently called Take Me for a Ride. And I love that. I just love anything kind of with dark lyrics and an 80s synth sound. Give me synth pop and I'm yours.
Oh, yeah. And she also asks, do you have a least favourite? The one where you think, oh, do we really have to sing that again?
Well, and we've made, no bones about it. We've always said that 5, 6, 7, 8 is a little bit of a pebble in our shoe. We've always shied away from doing it. But I'm sure every artist has that song in their repertoire where they go, oh, yeah. Kylie probably thinks that about I Should Be So Lucky, but we've learned to embrace it and recognize that we wouldn't be where we are today without that song. So now we perform it and we don't shy away from it. We throw everything at it. We have cowboy hats, we have bales of hay, we have swing doors, we have cowboys kissing. We have it's literally like a cowboy. It's a country and western pantomime.
You embrace it wholeheartedly.
That's great.
Alex said, if you could have another career, what would it be?
Arts and design. So I have recently started to paint again. Many years ago, I went to art college. I was going to go on and do a degree, but I deferred and I never went back. But about 10 years ago, I started to have my own exhibitions. So I've had lots of exhibitions in North Wales, but I've just started painting again, and I'd like to do that.
Oh, wow.
Very nice. Okay, I've got one. It's a bit of a silly one. Liz Stafford asks, who would win in a fight? S Club 7 or Steps?
Well, I don't know, actually, because there's 7 of those and 5 plus. Actually, no, there's not. There's 3 of them now, so Steps.
got Liz as well. Lizzie, if you could do a duet with anyone, who would it be?
Oh, wow. Oh, it's been on my bucket list for a long time. I would love to do Better the Devil You Know with Kylie.
Oh,
It's out there
I'm
now.
sure Kylie listens, so
She's a big fan. She's a big
me and Kylie were like that.
I'll text her.
text her, yeah. Okay. Eleanor asks, are you a cat or a dog person?
Do you know what? I have both. I have she's beautiful. So my little cat's called Megan, and so she's called an exotic Persian. She's like Garfield. So with like a squishy nose, and she's the most, oh my goodness me, laid back cat. My boys literally pick her up by her head, and she doesn't even say it. Oh my goodness me. And I have a Bichon who's now, he's 17, bless him, my little Bichon. And he's been through the wars. He had cancer of the jaw, so he's got half a jaw, which means his tongue hangs out. And he makes a hell of a mess when he's eating and drinking. But you know what? He's still going strong.
What's his name?
So I love him. His name is Dewi.
Oh.
Dewi, which basically means Dave in Welsh.
Oh. Hazel, if you really want to dance hard at home on your own, what music do you put on?
Oh my goodness, I love a bit of Gaga. I love. So her Chromatic album got me through lockdown. So Rain on Me with Ariana Grande. Oh my god, I just love that. Amazing.
That'd be a good duet with steps, wouldn't it?
Wouldn't it?
Lady Gaga on steps. That's
yeah,
match made in heaven.
I mean, we're aiming high there, so
Well,
I don't know if she doesn't know we exist.
She also listens to this podcast, so you never know.
A lot of Gaga songs sound like step songs, to be fair.
Yeah.
So who knows?
Exactly.
It could happen. Eleanor also asked, have you got any hidden talents?
Any hidden talents? Well, I guess we've spoken about some of them. A lot of people don't know that I paint. So I'm a landscape artist. I'll send you some of my pictures. See what you
do. I'd love to see them. I'd really love to see them.
Amazing.
Yeah. Mary, when did you last really belly laugh, and at what?
Oh, I have such an amazing time with Lisa Scott Lee. We have the most ridiculous relationship because we've known each other for 25 years. We know everything about each other, and we can just make a noise and laugh. We can literally look at each other and literally burst out crying. So with Lisa, I mean, I have great fun with all of the members of Steps, but Lisa and I have this really special bond, and it's really ridiculously silly. So when Lisa and I get together, we belly laugh.
Oh,
brilliant.
So this question is from Lucy Brown, and I have to tell you that she's a runner and she runs marathons, and she says she always has at least 3 Steps tracks on her playlist as she runs. And she said she actually did the London Marathon last year, and she was doing Tragedy as she was running and doing the London Marathon. I said I have to tell him that. So
I love that.
Yeah.
Do you know what we just released? So we had the idea of actually getting every Step song onto one track. So we've just released, and it's called the Platinum Mega Mix, and it's 7 minutes long. So please tell her, put that on, and it's a banger. It's seriously.
I've listened to it, and it's brilliant. I listened to it on YouTube, and it's so good.
It's that we did a condensed version on the Queen's Jubilee, so that was the one.
Which was fantastic. And Lucy asked, who would play you in a film of your life?
Oh, that's a good question.
Oh my goodness me. And somebody like Jim Carrey, probably.
A bit younger.
I don't know.
Ali said, would you ever stand as an MP?
Absolutely not.
God, looks hellish, doesn't it?
Jeez.
I mean, I often say what I would do, but I wouldn't want to be up there getting in the fire.
Well, I mean, just tell the truth.
Yes, I know, would be helpful. It's a good starting point.
Yes.
Isn't it just?
Tricky.
What would your superpower be, says Louise?
I've got one. I'm a twin dad.
Yes, that
Good
is a
answer.
superpower.
Good answer.
Very good.
Dan Mahari asked, if you weren't called H, what would you be called? What would you want to be called? G. Yeah, like it.
What about WTF?
Jim said, what is your favourite cheese?
My favourite cheese? Oh, I like a stinky one. Give me a rotten old Stilton.
Catherine Moore asked, if you could be in any other pop group, past or present, which would it be?
Oh, wow. That's a really good question. Let me think. I mean, I love ABBA songs. I mean, they're timeless. But I guess we are in a band that's very similar to ABBA. I love, you know, when we were doing our thing in the early days, All Saints were just super cool. You know, they would just glide into a room and everybody just adored them. They were just effortlessly cool. So I love All Saints. I'm the wrong gender, but I can wear a dress.
Yeah, I mean, it can be absolutely. And she also asked, what has been the most difficult dance routine to learn?
Oh, wow. There's a song that we did years ago called You'll Be Sorry. And we've just recently did a little medley of songs that with super hard dance routines. So I would say You'll Be Sorry, After the Love's Gone is quite hard. But there was a song that Claire and I did when we did our solo project. And it was called All Out of Love. And that was the hardest. Gee whiz. I mean, how we did that, I have no idea.
And I've got one that I think we should finish on, but can I ask you this?
I've just fallen down. My seat is just broken. My stool's just broken.
Oh no! Oh dear.
You okay?
The hole.
Who's this? Who said, where is it? Oh, Ben, who is your guilty crush?
A guilty crush. Oh, there's nothing guilty about anything. I mean,
yeah, enjoy it.
Oh, do you know what? Do you know what? I don't know. I mean, I love a footballer or a rugby player with great legs. Give me a great pair of legs. Oh, let me think. I love a bit of, what's the actor that plays Thor? What's his name? Chris
Hemsworth. Yeah.
Hemsworth.
Yeah, that's a good shout. Good shout. And Hayley said, what is your motto for life?
My motto, one day at a time.
That's a great motto. I think we're going to have to wrap it up because we're at time. I could talk to you for hours. There are so many things I want to ask you. But oh my God, I'm so grateful that you've come on the podcast. You are such a delight and you're everything I hoped you'd be and more.
Yes.
You're so lovely.
So wonderful to speak to you and hear you. You know, you've just...
Well, I thought you were doing tragedy then.
On my sinking chair. Thank you.
Brilliant. Thank you for giving up your time because we know you're so busy and we know you did Hoopla at the weekend and you know you've got 2 children.
You're
very
welcome, honestly.
Tragedy, when the feeling's gone and you can't go on.
So for this final episode of season 2, our audience question was, what are your happiest memories from the 90s? And we had some great answers. Sue, you go first.
I will go first with the lovely Jo on Twitter, who said that her happiest memory from the 90s was being the family of the week on Big Breakfast just before Christmas 1999, herself and her 3 children.
Wow.
How cool is that?
That is so cool.
I mean, what? That is proper fame.
Who gets to do stuff like that? That's like an urban legend, being the family of the week on Big Breakfast.
Big Breakfast.
That's
and this
so
was
cool.
with Johnny Vaughan, Lisa Tarbuck.
Oh, I love Lisa Tarbuck.
And they were on every day, weren't they? They were on every morning for 5 days. And I did ask Jo if she's got a video of it, and she said she's only got 2 mornings worth. But still, that's still good. And she also sent a lovely picture of herself and her 3 lovely kids and the 2 hosts. And it's so 90s. I mean, Lisa Tarbuck's got some amazing... She's got dark hair with these amazing tiger streaks in it.
Oh,
it's so All Saints. It's just there. And Johnny's got quite a strange, spiky sort of haircut. But they're so young. But Jo
cool.
Looking lovely as well. Yeah, it's just so great. I'm quite jealous, to be honest.
Yeah, me too. And I definitely had that kind of hairstyle. I went in and asked for a Rachel, and yet my hair is practically black. And they dyed it, and they put loads of coppers and streaks through it. It wasn't a good look for me. I looked horrendous.
Did you like it at the time?
No, not really. I got home and my dad went, "What have you done to your hair?" And then I grew it out, and I got cast as a lot of criminals around that time, like in The Bill and stuff like that.
Oh, well, it was worth it then.
Jet black and then different colours, and then when I cut it out, everyone thought I dyed my hair very dark. And I was like, no, this is just the colour of my hair. But no one believed me. But it was. Oh, it was. I promise. Thermal Satsuma said, my favourite memory from the 90s was holding my baby daughter for the first time, listening to Aztec Camera on the hospital radio, and marvelling at how tiny and perfect she was.
Oh, that's so sweet.
That's so sweet. I'm picturing Del Boy stood by the window with his little boy Damien telling him, this time next year we're going to be millionaires.
Oh, well, and that reminds me of when I went in to give birth to my first child, and in the birthing suite, the radio was on, and from out of the radio was coming the sounds of Salt and Pepper singing, push it, push it good, do, 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 do. I mean, you couldn't make it up, could you? I did ask them to turn it off immediately because I didn't want any sound at all.
Yes.
But I did laugh before I asked them to turn it off. I mean, they hadn't planned it. It was literally on the radio. It was complete coincidence.
Oh, my God.
So brilliant.
That's fantastic. Then we've got Tingley, who said mixtapes, making them, gifting them, receiving them, playing them, using a pencil to wind them when the reel gets loose.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I remember that vividly.
Tricks of the trade.
Yeah, every Sunday, hitting record at the right time to take Bruno Brooks out of the equation so that you didn't hear him speak. And then even now I hear certain songs. So Annie Lennox, Come Into These Arms Again, the one from Interview with the Vampire, in my head always goes into Nirvana because that's how I recorded it.
Yes.
Weird, isn't
and
it?
all albums you know really well, you always know the next song, don't you?
Yeah, definitely.
You can always start singing the next track. For years and years afterwards, there is something weird about music in that way.
It's wonderful.
That we remember music. It must go into a sort of special compartment in your brain that stores things better than any other part.
Yes, or without doubt. If I could have done my GCSEs with everything put to song, I'd have absolutely smashed them all.
That is such a good idea. You could make a lot of money.
Yes, definitely.
GCSE science.
Yeah. To the tune of Dua Lipa, Levitate.
Oh, I've got Siobhan here, who says that her happiest memories were of Dingle, which is in Kerry in Ireland, summers, boozing and beaches, and bollocky work. I'm still not clear what bollocky work is, but just probably 9 to 5. 9 to 5, dull, but kind of fun, probably.
Yeah, definitely. Hayley Panayi said early 90s, Saturdays with my best friends, catching the train to local town for the hippie Grebo shops and the charity shops. Grebo, that's a word I haven't heard for a while.
I've never heard that word.
Trying to find the best velvet jacket, long skirt, satchel or cherry docks.
Yes.
And then the mid-90s, driving around with my mates and classics blasting out. Fatboy Slim, Alanis Morissette and Nirvana.
Yes. Well, there's another bombing around in cars one here from Elizabeth Stafford, who says she remembers bombing around in Lucy Greenwood's yellow Mini, singing Spice Girls at the top of our lungs. And I have to say I remember that too, Liz. Just the freedom, isn't it? The freedom of the time.
Yeah.
And you just, when you're young and you just can. I mean, I still do sing very loudly. But that's decadence of youth. Yeah.
No responsibility, your life stretching out ahead of you.
Yeah,
very few decisions made. Mark said the 90s ranged from being in the park on my bike with any and all friends turning up to finally being able to go to the station, which was the pub, and everyone in the year trying to squeeze into the booth where you had no leg room, drank terrible lager and laughed your ass off, then someone giving you the house signal. Brackets, Esther should remember. Yes, I went to school with Mark, and Mark, I know exactly what he means. There was the nightclub up the road called the Picture House, and if somebody did the house symbol, you know, it was a mass exodus, and many a raucous night was had in the Picture House. Yes, many fun times.
Jen McKenna says, where to begin? Jumping up and down to Britpop?
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's a good place to begin, Jen.
She's definitely talking your language.
Yeah, I think that's where I'll end as well. I think I'm going to have Blair at my funeral. Francis Peel said, orange everyday 50 contracts. Chatting to your friends on the phone for 50 minutes every single day, even though we'd spent the whole day at school together.
Yes. Andrew Lewis said, being at uni in Bristol, laughing every day and having so much fun, brackets, apart from the actual doing of uni work. It's where I met Hayes, which then led on to Hales, and then Mel and Esther. What could be happier than that? And when he says Esther, he does mean me, which is lovely. There's a little gang of 5 of us, Hayley, Hazel, Mel and Andy. So, yes, they're lovely, lovely friends.
Well, I've got one here from Emma Hastings, who says her happiest memory of the 90s was living with me. So I'm sorry that not everyone can share that happy memory.
Yes.
But Emma Emma, myself, and Becky Owen, who is a fantastic singer-songwriter. Check out her music. Lived together in the third year at Newcastle University, and we did have a lot of laughs.
Wow.
Yes, it's just so nice to think back to being young.
Yeah.
And carefree.
Yeah. The world at your feet.
Still is.
Yes, absolutely.
I'm going to find a yellow Mini and wind the windows down and blast out the Spice Girls at the top of my voice.
Yes.
That's what I'm going to do this afternoon.
And I'll come and move in with you.
Yeah, do that. Yeah, we're sorted. Cool. We're reliving the 90s right now.
Woohoo!
Backstreet's back, all right.
Esther, this is a very exciting moment.
It certainly is, Susan.
This is the moment we announce the winner of the inaugural limited time only Audience Award.
Whoop, whoop.
So it's going to the person who has sent us the best stories across the whole season in response to the audience questions. It's a beautiful trophy. It's gold, it's pink, it's got our faces on it. It's coming the way of this person. Esther, would you announce the winner?
The winner is Mr. Neil Hopkins, a.k.a. at Thermal Satsuma.
Well done.
Well done, Neil. Woohoo!
And thank you, Neil, for sending fantastic answers to all of our questions with a mix of funny, informative and moving stories.
Absolutely.
I mean, it was a close race. It was a close run thing. We've had lots of fantastic responses to the audience questions this season, and we're looking forward to hearing from you all again next season.
And maybe we can send some badges out to the runners-up.
Maybe.
Yes. So, Neil, if you get in touch with us and give us your address and we can send it over to you.
Well done. Congratulations.
Woohoo!
You have been listening to the final episode of Season 2, limited time only.
Thank you so much for listening.
We really appreciate all the support over this season.
It's been great getting to know some more of our listeners this time around.
And we really hope we've put a smile on your face and given you a boost.
Season 3 is shaping up very nicely, so we hope we'll see you there.
Have a wonderful summer.
If you've enjoyed listening to Limited Time Only, you might want to help us make Season 3. We've got a PayPal button on our website. Any contribution would be very welcome. I promise it will go towards making Limited Time Only, not buying me sweets.
We'll be back for more next time.
But for now,
swing those pants! Mom, does this mean I can have some sweets? I'm not getting paid for this, you know.